evening and welcome to Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits. I'm here with Mr. Don Nicholson from St. John's College. We are at the night before the Vino Veritas at our vertical tasting. This is part of the fundraiser for St. John's College, and I'll let Mr. Nicholson, who is the chairman of the event, give a little bit of information about it.
Thanks, David. We're very excited. This is the second year of the event itself, but the first year that we've done this vertical tasting leading up to the event tomorrow. We're very excited that David helped put this together. We're very excited about the wines that we'll be sampling this evening, and of course we're more excited about the wines that we'll be sampling tomorrow. Again, it's our second year with the Vino Veritas event, and we're expecting a full house, and from wines being sampled from around the world and from the U.S. as well. And this is an event that is to do with St. John's College and support of scholarship programs and other students, monies for students. And there will be individual seminars running throughout the day from preparing food and wine, how to taste wine like a pro. Abe Shorter from Florian Vineyards also will be giving a talk, initially opening up the event with Marco Paoli. Paoli, is it?
Marco Di Giulio.
Thank you. With his wines and Abe, a little bit about winemaking itself, and then Abe will have a separate seminar talking about his particular wines. Well attended last year, and again, Abe having taught at St. John's in the past. Has got a strong following around the Annapolis area, and of course throughout the U.S. as kind of leading a cult winemaking, doing things a little anti-UC Davis. So anyway, I hope you attend, and we're looking forward to it. And again, I thank David for the opportunity.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Good evening and welcome to Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits. I'm here with Mr. John Harrington from Trefethen Vineyards for part of our vertical tasting. We will be tasting the Halo Cabernet, and I'll let John tell you a little bit more about it.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here this evening, and it's a special treat for your customers to be able to taste our top-of-the-line Cabernet Sauvignon. We're doing vertical 3 vintages, 03, 04, 05, and this is going to truly be a very great tasting from a top Napa Valley producer, and also you've also selected 2 other great producers as well. So this is a really great evening for your guests.
We're looking forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits. I'm David Marberger here with Miss Penny Haas from Alexander Valley Vineyards for the Vino Veritas vertical tasting, and I'll let Miss Haas explain a little bit about her wine.
2012 is a pretty exciting year at Alexander Valley Vineyards. We are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Wetzel family estate. And tonight we are going to showcase Cyrus, which is our flagship wine. Alexander Valley is named after Cyrus Alexander, and this wine showcases the very best of the Sonoma County. It is known as the first growth of Sonoma. So we're excited to be here with 3 vintages, the 2004, 2005.
It's okay. 05, 06, and 07.
Yep, 05, 06, and 07.
Well, we're looking for... Oh, are you kidding me? Thank you. We're looking forward to tasting this. Thank you. All right, good evening. I'm David Marberger here at Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits with Mr. Ed Molina from Turlotta Winery. We're doing the Vino Veritas vertical tasting this evening. So I'll let Mr. Molina explain a little bit about the Turlotta Cardinals Peak.
Thank you very much, David. Pleasure to be here at Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits in lovely Annapolis, Maryland. Turlotta Family Vineyards Cardinals Peak is actually more of a visionary wine, if you will. Our founder, Tony Turlotta, has been collecting first growth Bordeaux since the 1950s, back when he was a retailer in Chicago. You fast forward about 50 years, he went to his winemakers in California and said he wanted a wine that is an homage to Chateau Margaux. So he called up his friends at Chateau Margaux. We got a 10-year average of the varietal composition of the wines. Went to his winemaker and said, here's what I want you to create. We're going to develop this vision. He actually has 2 other peaks that he has as well. Angel's Peak is an homage to Pomerol, and then the Devil's Peak is an homage to Cheval Blanc. So some very outstanding wines using the wonderful terroir of Napa to emulate the unbelievable Bordeaux.
Well, we're looking forward to getting into them this evening, and thank you very much for coming.
Okay, David. Looking forward to it.
Everyone, we're very gingerly find a seat. We'd love to get some of this wine down our gullet. So come on in and grab a seat.
Enjoy, you guys. Okay.
Whoever bumps the table loses.
Spinning plates.
The guy at the head is a wine for famous wine
For coming tonight. This is a fundraiser for St. John's College. This is part of the Vino Veritas Wine Festival that will be taking place tomorrow. I know I'm preaching to the choir. I know a lot of you already know that. But for those who don't, there is a fundraiser tomorrow at the college. We have over 60 wines that you'll be able to sample. $35 a person, multiple seminars, cooking demonstrations. Mr. Abe Schoner, who's in the office or audience this evening, raise your hand, Abe, don't be shy. From the Scholium Project will be leading the opening discussion as well as giving a seminar on his wines. I also need to say thank you very much to these three individuals, Ms. Penny Haas from Alexander Valley Vineyard, Mr. Ed Molina from Turlato, and Mr. John Harrington from Trefethen. They have donated their time, effort, and energy to be here tonight to share their wealth of knowledge about the wonderful wines that are in front of you. And I also want to say a very special thank you to Ms. Daisy Callis-Barr. Without her, none of this would have happened tonight. So, in my experience, it's interesting. I found it most interesting to taste one vineyard or one winery from first vintage to last vintage versus going, 06 Trefethen to 06 Turlato to 06 Alexander Valley. And plus, because of the halo vintages, it's a little bit, you can't really do it that way anyway. But this is your tasting. Those are your 9 glasses of wine. I want to ask a little bit of insight from our experts up here, how they might recommend doing it. But without a doubt, dive into them. We'll let these guys speak a little bit, and then you guys dive in and tell us what you think. So thank you very much for coming.
We're located about 70 miles north of San Francisco in the Alexander Valley. So the valley is relatively unique. It's about 20 miles long, about 5 miles wide, and it's divided in half by the Russian River. And that's what really influences our grapes. We get very warm days during the growing season, but at night the fog rolls in, the temperature drops about 40 to 50 degrees. And as such, we have wonderful acidity in the grapes. So we get great balance. Our Bordeaux style grapes in particular are quite different than, say, Napa Valley because of that temperature difference. We have very elegant Cabernets. The Cabernets in particular, they don't tend to develop the real thick skins because of that cool fog. So you get a little less tannin and a little more acidity. The Wetzel family purchased the property back in 1962, so we are celebrating our 50th anniversary this year, which is kind of a special year for us. We started producing wine in 1975, and many of you are probably familiar with our estate Cabernet. And when it was first released by Hank Wetzel, the wine world quickly took notice because, again, the difference between Alexander Valley and other Northern California regions was readily apparent because they weren't those massive tannic Cabernets. And from that point on, people took notice of the Alexander Valley. We bought the property from the heirs of Cyrus Alexander. He received that property back in the mid-1800s, and he chose the valley that now bears his name because it was the most beautiful, the best, and the brightest of northern Sonoma County. When he passed away, his heirs sold the property to the Wetzels. So there's only ever been 2 names on that deed. Cyrus Alexander, the namesake of the valley, and the Wetzel family. And that's why in 1995, 20 years after Hank Wetzel produced his first Cabernet Sauvignon, he decided to produce a flagship wine that showcased the very best of the region, the best of the vintage, and he decided to name it in honor of Cyrus rather than call it a reserve Cabernet. So that's how Cyrus came about. That's why it's called Cyrus. Today it's known as the first growth of Sonoma. It is our flagship wine. And it's something that you tend not to see a lot on retail shelves. We produce on average about 2,600 6-packs a year. So it's small production. What makes it uniquely different than other Meritages on the market is that we select from our best lots each vintage, and we're blending to showcase the vintage. But what we do is we barrel age those lots for 12 to 14 months separately. And then we really see what each of those lots brings to the table in terms of flavor profile. At that point, our winemaker, Kevin Hall, blends the wine to showcase that vintage. It goes back into 100% French oak for an additional 12 months barrel aging. And then depending on the vintage, it will stay, once it's been bottled, in the bottle for 8 to 14 months prior to release. So unlike our Cabernet Sauvignon, which has a lot of continuity and flavor profile vintage to vintage, Cyrus is designed to showcase the vintage. So it always has the blend on the back label so you can really see the differences. So it's kind of fun for us tonight to have you see 3 amazing California vintages, the 5, the 6, and the 7. And I think you'll probably be pretty excited, and you'll see some flavor continuity in terms of the family profile, but you'll definitely see some vintage variation. And then just one more quick thing, which is not about Cyrus, but because I've been showing the estate label, in honor of the 50th anniversary, we have decided to update our label. So this is our new estate label, and the first wine to be released with it is the 2011 Rosé. So thanks, and I hope you enjoy the wines.
Well, I think that Penny said a couple of things about Trefethen. I think she looked at my nose because she talked about balance, elegance, acidity. That's the way we describe our wines. So you just looked at my nose on that one. Anyway, so Trefethen Family Vineyards, the winery is actually in the southern part of Napa Valley. We are actually in the Oak Knoll District, which became an official AVA in 2004. So literally, if you're on Route 29 heading north, we're the first winery on the right-hand side. So it doesn't get much southern than that as far as Napa Valley. Coolest climate in the Napa Valley. Interesting to talk here playing from Alexander Valley and the climate there, because we are definitely a unique microclimate, and our wines have a nice level of acidity to them as well. We were known as a Chardonnay producer. That's what really put Trefethen on the map in the 1970s. Our first vintage was 1973. That was the year that John and Janet married and formed the partnership of Trefethen Family Vineyards. Still family owned, operated. All the grapes are grown on our estate, 500 acres. And then there's another little vineyard called our Hill Spring Vineyard, about a mile north of the winery, and that's where the Cabernet Sauvignon fruit comes from that is produced in the halo. So we were really big with Chardonnay in the 70s, 80s, but we obviously were also producing Cabernet, and we're seeing the Cabernet was showing very, very well for us. And also showed that in the Hill Spring Vineyard, which is a hillside vineyard, was showing very, very phenomenal wines. And that's when in 1997, actually a couple years before that, the Trefethens wanted to come out with our high-end Cabernet Sauvignon. And well, what are they going to name the wine? Well, they have 2 children, Lauren and Haley, so they decided to name it Halo after Haley and Lauren, who are now in their mid-20s, and they are actively involved with the winery. So I think it's interesting. We're going to be tasting 03, 04, and 05. The current release in the marketplace is 06. It's interesting to see if there's 07s. Our 07 won't be released until the fall. I do have notes on the actual wines, the varietal breakdown, and a little interesting information about the actual label itself. But I think you're all anxious to taste. I think once you go ahead and taste the wines, and then I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions afterwards, so please enjoy the Halo, enjoy the other wines. Thank you very much.
Wine company, which is a big conglomerate of 52 different wineries that we represent throughout the world. But these wines that we're tasting tonight are really the evolution of a passion and a vision that was developed by our founder, Tony Terlato, going back to the 1950s when he was a retailer in Chicago. He has since evolved his business into, they bought distributorships in the 60s, then they eventually started their own international wine company where they became agents. And Tony's ultimate vision was to be a winemaker. Hence, that's how Terlato Family Vineyards was evolved. So what we have in front of us tonight are the Cardinals Peak. There's actually 3 different peak series that Terlato blends together. So just kind of, I'm going to give you an overview of what the peak series are, and then we'll talk about how the Cardinal series is being shown tonight. So going back to when Tony was collecting Bordeaux in the 50s, you know, he went to France several times over the decades, and when he became involved with his own properties, We have two wineries out there in particular in Napa. We have Rutherford Hill in Napa, and then we have Chimney Rock in Stag's Leap. I don't know if any of you have ever been to those two wineries, but you know, this will sound a little self-serving, but I've been to many wineries in California. Those are two of the more beautiful properties that I've ever seen, just in terms of the location and what they have to offer. So, Tony created these 3 Peak Series wines with his winemakers. We have the Angel's Peak, which is a homage to Pomerol and Petrus, so a Merlot-based wine. The Devil's Peak, which is a homage to Cheval Blanc because it's Cabernet Franc based. And then what we have in front of us tonight is the Cardinal's Peak. So the Cardinal's Peak is a homage to Chateau Margaux with a Cabernet Sauvignon as its main base varietal, and it's blended out every year differently with a different Bordeaux varietal. Some years there's more Merlot, there's Petit Verdot, there's Cabernet Franc in there. But the way this project evolves is Marissa Huffmaker, who is Tony's winemaker at Rutherford Hill, she will bring in her top concentration from the Rutherford Bench property that we own, and also from Stag's Leap. And she'll bring it into Tony and a gentleman named Doug Fletcher, who's our owner, principal of winemaking out there in California. And she'll sit with Tony and Doug, and they'll decide on what the composition is going to be for that year. So, for example, the 2005, it's a blend of 76% Cabernet and 24% Merlot. I know from selling Chimney Rock on the other side of our portfolio, that was a robust year for Chimney Rock for Stag's Leap. It was an excellent growing year, huge yield, very robust, you know, tasting wine. So, another great benefit that we have is at Rutherford Hill, we have these caves. We have miles and miles of caves that are underneath the winery, which obviously will give, you know, excellent opportunity for our wines to age and to mature in a very controlled environment. It's 52 degrees year round. It will be 110 degrees at, you know, the surface. You get down these caves, it's like you've been in someone's basement in a house that's 200 years old. So, you know, that's also another benefit. And then we do 1 year in the bottle before it's a release. So every year, as I mentioned, the varietal composition is a little bit different. The 05, 76% Cabernet. The 06 was 67% Cabernet, and then blended out with Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Verdot. And then the 07, which we actually just released to the trade, is 81% Cabernet, and then blended out with Merlot, Petit Verdot, and Cabernet Franc. So, thank you for, you know, tasting these wines tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed them, and buy some wine if you like it. Thank you.